Hi, this is Gus, here with today's No Fuss Gus moment. Recently, I was able to purchase an interesting essay as part of a bundle, and the essay's title was How to Make Your RPG Story Game More Therapeutic and Caring. And I thought that that was a very interesting thing. And it's by Maria Mison. And over the next couple of videos, I'd like to actually take a chance to explore it a little bit. You know, see how it works for me and my characters in my group. In the first chapter, or I should say module, she talks about family and how family is one of the most integral things that affects your life. And I think in her words, she said that no one is without the original sin, and that is family. You know, it's the pain and also the goodness that you start with, and it can be interesting to explore that through your role-playing game characters. You know, like if you have in your life a difficult or strained relationship and you want to explore it through the comfort of role playing, you can project some of that into your character's life. And through catharsis, through exploring your pain through fantasy, you may be able to actually get some insight. And even if you're not interested in doing that, you may also be interested just in exploring the dynamic of having a character who's going through this whole change, who's getting over the trauma and pain of his family life. So, like, what if you have a character who's an adventurer and his parents did not think that that was a good life choice, and he's browbeaten over it, and he's criticized of it, and is eventually ostracized from the family because of it. And it's just a life choice. It's the same thing as if you chose to work at a grocery store or to be a tavern keeper in a fantasy world. And maybe it's just a matter of, you know, like maybe his parents were the owners of a tavern and they expected that he was going to take it over, and he didn't. And then, you know, going out on your adventure and doing all of your things, you know, when you're saving the world, you're often thinking about the people you're saving it for and why you're saving it. And having that sour family relationship can add an interesting layer to your character, you know? And it can kind of make you think more about your character in a broader, holistic way, who they are outside of being a really cool dragon slayer or that sort of thing. Contrary-wise, you can also think about the family question as your chosen family. Why did you, a barbarian who ended up in this party, start choosing these party members as your family? How do they make you feel? You know, does the cleric make you feel like that's their father figure? Does the druid perhaps remind you of your mother? And what sort of feelings does that bring up inside? You know, these are things that you can explore. And basically, what I want to encourage, even if you're not going to look at how this can be therapeutic and helpful, is to just think about your characters more dynamically. Think about where they came from and where they're going. And the other thing that I want you to consider is something I read in one article about being kind in role-playing. And that is the difference between surprise and suspense. So surprise is where something just happens. Like there's no preconceived notion or anything. While suspense is built to. So in one of the games I'm currently following, there is a character who it's become very obvious he has a background where he doesn't get along with his family. And it's slowly becoming clearer that there's something really wrong. And that slow burn of it, that's more of a suspense. And that's really an interesting thing, because any player sitting at the table, well, they can see it coming. They don't know exactly how, they don't know what, but they know it's going to come. So when something happens, it won't be a shock, but it'll be something that will really get them. They'll have seen the whole process. They'll seen how all the things that his family did have been affecting his choices. And then they'll see more clearly, I think, the trauma he's been through. And then sometimes you can have a character who their background will be just a giant surprise. Like I had a DM and he asked the player, he said, do you mind, since you have a very foggy backstory, if I kind of get silly with what's going on? And the player was like, go for it. And I'm waiting to see exactly what the surprise is going to be. However, all the players at the table, they're part of that conversation. So it is still suspense. And I think suspense, that's the thing we want in a game. Because with suspense, we can say, no, I don't want that. Like we can see the direction something's going, and we can say, I feel uncomfortable with this direction, and I'd like it to go another way, please. Like if you don't like devils and demons, then maybe, a game that's starting to go that way, you can ask the DM, can we get away from this? And the DM can say, yeah. Or they can say, maybe this isn't the game for you. Because when we sat down and we talked about it, maybe, it's part of the theme. It's part of what I wanted to explore. And maybe this game isn't for you. So, these are things to think about. Think about your characters dynamically. But also, think about the other players. And find ways to be gentle, but also engaging. All right? So, that's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you next week. All right? Bye.